June 19, 1944, Task Force 58 cruised through the vast blue of the Philippine Sea. Inside the Fighter Direction Center, radar operators watched glowing blips crawl across phosphorescent screens. A coded message from submarine USS Albacore warned, "Enemy carriers sighted, air attack imminent." Lieutenant Charles Sims adjusted his headphones, transmitting the order that would unleash hundreds of American fighters. 15 U.S. carriers prepared for battle, the Lexington, Enterprise, Yorktown, and more, each bristling with aircraft and tension. None aboard yet knew they were about to witness the most one-sided aerial massacre in history. To the Japanese, their carrier pilots were the samurai of the sky, veterans trained to perfection. Admiral Jizaburo Ozawa's mobile fleet assembled 9 carriers, Taiho, Shokaku, Zuikaku, and others, carrying 430 aircraft. Supported by land-based planes from Guam and Tinian, they sought to destroy the American invasion of Saipan. The Imperial Navy believed skill and spirit could overcome numbers. Admiral Toyoda's order echoed through the fleet. The fate of the Empire rests upon this battle. From the decks of Task Force 58 thundered the Grumman F-6F Hellcat, the industrial embodiment of American power. Its 2,000 horsepower Pratt & Whitney engine pushed 12,000 pounds of steel and armor through the sky. Designed for survival, the Hellcat could take hits that would shatter the fragile Mitsubishi Zero. 6.50 caliber Browning guns fired 850 rounds per minute, each burst turning enemy aircraft into fireballs. To pilots like Commander David McCampbell, the Hellcat wasn't just a machine, it was a promise that they would come home alive. At 0830, Ozawa launched his first wave, 69 aircraft in tight formation. Radar detected them 150 miles out. "Launch all fighters," Admiral Mitchell ordered. Within minutes, 140 Hellcats roared skyward. The two forces met 25,000 feet above the Pacific. Lieutenant Charles Brewer's division struck first. Zeros burst into flames like shooting stars. In barely 5 minutes, dozens of Japanese planes fell burning into the sea. American pilots called it like shooting clay pigeons. Only a handful of attackers reached the fleet, and most were destroyed by proximity-fused anti-aircraft fire. Among the Hellcats was Lieutenant Alexander Vrieu. When his supercharger failed, limiting his speed, he continued alone into battle. From above, he dived on a formation of Judy dive bombers. His bursts were short and deadly. One Judy exploded in a fireball, another disintegrated in midair. In 8 minutes, Vrieu shot down 6 bombers using less than 5 seconds of firing time. When he landed aboard the Lexington, he held up 6 fingers, an image that would become immortal. At 1,100, radar screens lit up again. Another raid of over 120 aircraft. Hellcats climbed to 28,000 feet and pounced from the sun. Japanese formations collapsed under coordinated attacks. Fighter direction officers guided each squadron with mathematical precision. By noon, the sky was littered with burning wrecks and parachutes. 97 enemy planes destroyed. Only a dozen returned home. The Americans lost fewer than 10. Beneath the waves, American submarines hunted Ozawa's fleet. At 0905, USS Albacore fired a spread of torpedoes. One hit the carrier Taiho. Hours later, her aviation fuel exploded, sending Japan's newest carrier to the bottom. Shortly after, USS Kavala torpedoed Shokaku, veteran of Pearl Harbor. 3 direct hits turned the ship into a fireball. Within 4 hours, Japan had lost 2 of its largest carriers. More than 60,000 tons of steel gone forever. By afternoon, the battle had become a slaughter. Hellcats rotated through the combat zone in waves, fresh fighters taking the place of those low on fuel or ammo. Mechanics on deck worked like clockwork, rearming planes in minutes. Each new engagement was short and one-sided. "They came at us in perfect formation like on parade," one pilot said. "We just shot them to pieces." By day's end, more than 300 Japanese aircraft lay scattered across the Pacific. As night fell, Admiral Mitchell made one of the war's boldest decisions. Hundreds of American pilots were returning low on fuel after a twilight strike. To save them, he ordered, "Turn on the lights." Every ship in Task Force 58 illuminated itself, searchlights, deck lights, running lights, creating a city of glow across the black ocean. Pilots followed that radiant path home, landing on any deck they could find. It was a moment of courage and compassion in the midst of war. By sunrise, Japanese losses were catastrophic. 346 carrier aircraft destroyed, 2 carriers sunk, 400 pilots dead. American losses just 29 planes. 15-to-1 kill ratio. The battle earned its nickname, the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Japanese survivors called it the death of naval aviation. Their air arm had been rebuilt over 2 years, wiped out in a single day. Behind the victory stood industry and training. America produced 12,000 Hellcats in 2 years, 600 a month. Each naval aviator trained over 600 hours before combat. Japan's replacements had barely 200. Factories in New York and California outproduced the entire Japanese empire. Logistics ships delivered fuel, ammunition, and spare parts daily, keeping the carriers fighting without pause. Quantity with quality had won the Pacific. Even victory came with tears. Many Hellcat pilots were barely in their 20s. They returned to ships exhausted, hands still shaking from adrenaline. Some spoke of dreams where enemy planes kept coming, wave after wave. On the other side, Japanese survivors floated for hours among wreckage, haunted by the sight of flaming comrades. For both nations, the battle left scars that time could not erase. American victory was not luck. It was science and intelligence. Codebreakers had deciphered Japanese plans weeks before the battle. Captured documents revealed attack routes and timings. Radar gave 40 minutes warning before each raid. Proximity fuses made anti-aircraft fire deadly. The U.S. Navy had turned warfare into a system of information and precision. Japan relied on courage, America relied on data, and data won. In the months after the Turkey Shoot, the Marianas became American bases for B-29 superfortresses. From Saipan and Tinian, bombers would soon ignite Tokyo and Osaka. Japan's defeat was no longer a matter of if, but when. The empire of the rising sun had been eclipsed by industrial and technological superiority. The Hellcat, the radar, and the system had won the Pacific. The Battle of the Philippine Sea reshaped modern aviation. Radar direction, mass production, and pilot survivability became the core of air power. Every jet fighter since the F-8, F-14, F-35 owes something to the Hellcat. When Lieutenant Ryu held up 6 fingers that day, he symbolized more than victory. He marked the moment when technology and training defeated tradition and bravery. The age of the samurai aviator had ended. The age of systematic superiority had begun. As the sun set on June 19, 1944, 3 Japanese carriers rested beneath the Philippine Sea, their aircraft silent forever. The Pacific War's outcome was sealed that day. Hellcats had turned the sky into a crucible of fire and smoke, and from that furnace emerged a new truth. Wars were no longer won by individual heroics, but by nations that mastered the science of war. The pilots of Task Force 58 had not just won a battle, they had changed history.